Hi guys, Jason and Nick on the Udder Farm. We're actually on the Udder Farm property today. What we want to do, guys, is we're getting a lot of questions on YouTube and a few on our Facebook page on things we do about the farm on a daily basis. And what we want to do is, I have been answering those online, either on YouTube or Facebook, but what I thought, to broaden our knowledge to other people, what we want to do is actually bring those questions out so everyone can listen to them, because they are good questions, guys, and it helps us all learn. And the more questions you guys ask us, the more we learn as well. So we don't know everything. Like I said, we're all down this path. I think the regenerative route is everyone can learn off each other. It doesn't matter how long you've been doing it for, there's always something to learn that you don't know. So by bringing this out, you guys might have more questions for us that we can have a look into, or hopefully help answer, or you may have stuff that adds on to our answers that we learn off. So what we're going to call this session, guys, is around the fire. So it won't be a regular thing. It's when we get, say, half a dozen questions. We've worked out we can answer 3 questions probably in a 15-minute period. We don't want to drag it out more than 15 minutes because I know people do lose concentration after that. So we might as well kick it off with so what I'm going to do is, this won't take place of my normal weekly videos. This will be substituted in between our normally weekly videos. So like on day 3 we'll add one in, but we don't expect it to be every single week because it's taken us now, 6 months to build the channel. Yeah. And we've got 6 questions. So it may be every few months we just slip a couple in, but we thought we'd start with the first 6 we got. So we'll probably answer 3 tonight. So I'll hand it over to Nick now. So Nick will ask the first question and then I'll try and answer it to the best of my ability. Like I said, the knowledge we've got is only limited to this property. So the way I answer it will be different than the way another regenerative farmer will answer it. So there's multiple ways to do things, guys. So, but this is our perspective and what we do on our 2 properties.
Okay.
Right, Nick, up to you.
You ready? The first question is from Lindsey. And it begins with, I have a few ideas that may assist or can be incorporated to reduce the time frame you need to use chemicals. Have you tried increasing bird houses, or nesting areas, or chickens following the cows 4 days later?
Yep. I'll start off by saying, good question. Lee is a regular on YouTube. I reckon he's probably added the most questions and he watches every video, so thanks for following us, Lee, very much appreciated.
Yeah, thank you.
When it comes to the nest boxes, we did think about that, but we do see a few birds in the area, but the time it takes to get the amount of nest boxes we need to reduce the fly number, we thought we'd have that down the track. Maybe when we get into it further, we'll have more time in our hands to maybe build these boxes, but in the interim, what we're doing is, in regards to the chickens, yes, most definitely, because we aren't set up here on the Udder Farm to take livestock in the cell grazing system, it's hard to follow up with chickens. So at the moment, that is not really on our cards, but I'm getting water quoted from me now, a watering system. My timeless fence is on the way over. So once that is going and we are cell grazing, yes, most definitely, we'll be having chickens follow up 3 days later, because as you know, what chickens do, Lee, or everyone out there, is you've got to give that manure a chance to dry out, and the chickens will come in when the fly larvae has already been laid, and when it's in the larvae stage, the chickens will break it open and they will eat that larvae before they have a chance to hatch into flies. So it reduces the number of flies you actually get on your cattle, and they also spread that fertilizer out. I know on the trial property, the worms do that for us. They come up, they pull most of that manure down and take it to the microbes and the dung beetles. It's working well on the trial property. You come back and there's no dung left, just that hard crusted bit on the surface that stays, that dries out in the sun, but there's nothing underneath. But no, chickens will also help spread that. So yes, that is definitely on the cards, Lee. That is definitely coming on the trial property.
Okay, the next part of the question, it says, you can try moving the cattle further away by skipping paddocks or the 3, then coming back later if these flies are laying eggs in the manure.
See, this one's a hard one, guys. Like at the moment on the Udder Farm here, we're on 74 acres, so to be able to skip what Lee's saying is 3 paddocks, or it's not even 3 paddocks, because we move twice a day, you're really to get 3 days in front of the flies and get further away. That's 3 by 2, that's 6 moves. You know, that could potentially be quarter my property. I'm moving my cows away. So an issue I've got is I'm setting up my property with a timeless perimeter and then timeless single plain wire down the driveway, and the double wire when I incorporate sheep. Is it's hard to bring them back 3 days later, because the way I'm setting up mine is I'm going right down one end of my property, through a gate, across the drive, and down the other end. I'm not actually putting the gates, specifically a dozen gates down my driveways, where I can just bring them around back in 3 days later, back into the paddock. And I reckon that'd be a nightmare for my situation to try and bring them back in. I'd have to build specific lanes past the areas I've already grazed, because what happens is you can graze cattle in an area, 3 days later that starts to grow, and that fresh growth on that plant is the sweetest of all. That is the most higher in energy. It's a young plant, so it's sweetest. The cows will always go for that grass first. So you can't just bring them back in over that area. They will stop and want to eat that regrowth. And the idea is to let your plant fully recover before you bring them back in. You don't want them eating that regrowth. So, but if you had, you know, if you had a gisted property beside you with, say, 12 properties, you know, with 1,000 acres, there's nothing stopping you, because you're walking them out from one property down a road to another property. You can have that space between them, and that will work. You know which property you've been to. But on the other farm, where it's only a small acreage, 74 acres, it's pretty hard to sort of skip paddocks and get them back in around to where you've already grazed. So I can see where you're coming from, Lee. That would work on, if you had a gisted property or leased property, you could do that. But it's pretty hard on my setup, mate, the way I'm also setting my fencing up. So that's sort of not beneficial here, but that definitely would work if you had mass area and you had leased property. That definitely is the solution. You could do that, yes.
Okay. Going back to the end of Lee's question, he has said, Greg used a fly paper posted by the water one year to get face flies as the cows drank. I've heard by adding garlic to the mineral causes some fly avoidance that doesn't wash off. Could he be talking about that video that we did with the essential oils?
I worked out the whole video is, the whole question is based on Lee watching that fly control video we've done with essential oils. But I'll start with the fly paper. As with the fly paper, I've seen it used and I have seen it covered in flies, but predominantly it's when those cows go to those areas, you're going to reduce numbers. So when they're at the water trough, yes, it sends out an odour, which then the flies go to and they get stuck on the paper. But then once they move away from there, there's hundreds of flies in the paddock. When they move away, they're going to be, the infestation will be there back over their face. So I'm finding it hard the investment to put in to buy the paper. If someone out there has gone down this track and used the paper, just email us on the other farm or make a comment on the YouTube and we'll look at it. It's just that the outlay for the paper to predominantly only reduce the numbers in that one area when they're at that drum, whether it be at the mineral feed or whether it be at the water trough, I can't see it making much of a difference when the rest of the day they're in the paddock cell grazing. And the outlay, I just want to know, has person out there or people out there done it, what does it cost them if they've done it over, say, a month or 2 month trial? What's it cost them for paper? And has it really reduced the numbers overall? I don't think so. But this last bit of the question where Lee mentions the garlic, 100% Lee, you're on the mark there. We just bought 10 kilos of garlic now and we've trialled on the other farm. We've set out specific minerals and we put garlic in which ones they eat the most. So what a garlic does, it's like if a human eats it, it emits an odour and you're not eradicating the flies, you're reducing the numbers. So I'm in the process of building 2 mineral feeders now. So when we eventually come out on the other farm here, I'm going to find out what minerals they eat the most and then I'm going to add garlic to those minerals. So at least it's something emitting an odour and reducing the fly numbers. So because the fly, especially here in Australia, Queensland, it's very bad in summer. you know, blood on the eyes, and it has to be treated, guys, like I said in the other video. Otherwise the flies get in there, they lay the eggs and larvae, and then you got issues with infection then. So
yeah,
I think have we covered Lee's question?
Yeah, we have now. We have. Now
Yeah, I think we might have time for one more. That was pretty long, 15 minutes.
We
We'll try and
have.
squeeze one more in, and it's getting dark.
That it is.
So we'll try and squeeze one more in. The lighting mightn't be the best, but we'll give it a crack.
But it's okay. You said you were going to cook dinner tonight,
Oh.
so that will be the first.
I think she's dreaming there, guys. Anyway, next question.
Okay. Next question is from Yupa Man. I was always told add extra seed in the feed so the cows help replant the grass they eat. And thank you for your tips.
Thank you, Superman. I'm glad someone actually likes my tips. Like,
Yeah.
sometimes my partner doesn't like my tips, but she soon tells me which direction to go, and it's generally not a good direction. But anyway,
You never listen anyway.
yeah. Superman, I would say that's a very good question. I've also heard it being done. I haven't done it myself because I haven't needed to, because I roll out the hay, as you would have seen from the videos, and I put the seed down that way. But when it comes to the other farm here, it's something I will do. I will be laying out hay, but any extra, especially in legume, it does work. Legumes, it's great for spreading legume seeds out. You don't need to broadcast it out. You just put it in with, like I said, you look for your best mineral that I eat the most of, and you put the seeds in there. And the ratio that I've heard used, and I've also done research on this, is you use 2 bags of seed for a pellet of mineral. So I'll let you guys factor that down and break that down to roughly how much you need to put in the mineral feeder. But yes, it is a good way. But what you got to do though for this question, in particularly what Superman has raised, is go to your experts, your agricultural experts, and look into what seed is suitable. Because I know with soft seeds, because I've looked into it for controlling weeds, and weed seeds are predominantly the same as pastoral seeds you'll be trying to put through your cattle, is soft seeds in weeds actually won't break down. It actually gets ruined passing through the 4 digestive chambers of a ruminant animal. So when they're grinding the feed and when it passes through the chambers, the soft seed is generally destroyed. Most of it's destroyed. I reckon 80% destroyed. But what they're saying is, if it's a hard-shelled seed, try saying that 100 times. That's a bit of a tongue twister. Hard-shelled seed
That was only twice.
generally doesn't break down as much because it's got that protection on the outside. So make sure it's a hard-shelled seed that you're trying to put through the animal. That way you've got more of a chance of them passing it through the 4 chambers and coming out the other end where you want it.
Oh, okay, there you go. I didn't know that.
Yeah, and it actually does, Guy. I've got a video coming up. We introduced 2 new cows, Galloway cows, to the farm, and I quarantined them for 7 days for that specific reason, because weed seed or grain, for this matter, not that I feed grain, but the lady I got these cows I fed grain.
Did, yeah.
And the grain was, I went down and opened the manure up every day. And it's not the first time I've done it. That's how come I know it lasts 7 days. About the 6th day mark, there was no grain left. So I leave mine 7 days before I introduce them to the paddock because of the weed seed.
Yep.
But if you're putting grain in, you want to introduce them to paddock A1 because you want to get that grain out there. You want to get that weed seed out there from day one. So there's no, send them out because they will spread it. And in the video coming up, guys, if you have a look about introducing new animals to your property, there's one cow paddy being dropped out the front of our shed near the crush area. And that has got 3 areas of germination, whether it be weed seed or grain, I'm not sure, it's hard to tell. But they're like 5 mil high, and I've got it in the video. So you're not relying on moisture in the ground, guys, because that moisture is in the paddy, and it lasts for weeks. You've got your moisture in there, you've got your fertility, you've got your fertilizer, because it comes out of the animal. That is butt fertilizer, and that seed will propagate and grow out of that paddy. So that's how come I know it works. So, but make sure it is hard seed, because I can't say that enough, because soft seed will break down. You lose, I reckon, 80% at my guess of your seeded, which you're trying to put into the paddock, through the forward digestive chambers of that cow, and it won't end up in your paddock. So
Well,
I think we need to call it, because it's getting dark. We were going to get 2 more, but we'll bring that. I think we've got 4 more questions, so I'll have to do another couple more episodes, guys. So
I think you need to start cooking dinner.
well, we'll have that discussion off camera. But anyway, guys, on behalf of myself and Nicole, thanks for watching the first episode of Around the Fire, and look forward to more. And keep those questions coming in, and we'll answer them. Righto, guys, have a good one.